Just last month, I'm going to speak in English because I communicate better in English. My Urdu is unfortunately not as good as Dr. Arfas, but I will try to break into our language as possible. But I'm also speaking in English for another reason. In this new global economy where Pakistan is being nudged out step by step, minute by minute, I want to be able to communicate to many of those who are going to watch and are going to be able to understand what is it that I'm saying, because my purpose is solely and always, since the beginning that I started, Pakistan first. Last month I was invited to come and speak in Seattle. It was an invitation that I did not expect, and when I got there I was very excited to sit amongst the best of the best from the world of Microsoft, from the world of Amazon, and the world of technology. And they had asked me to be the first South Asian and that to the first Pakistani to come and speak to them about and make them understand that in this new economic space that the world finds itself, how did a brand like mine that started 30 years ago survive? It is not because our brand is spectacular in any way. I think our brand is spectacular because I tend to think it's spectacular. They wanted to know how we survived in a country and a space that constantly keeps changing, keeps turning. Pakistan has so many opportunities, but you know how it is when you try to put yourself into a space where you think that you've got the entire formula right, something outside changes. They wanted to know how much change had I brought? How much had I relied on technology? How much had I relied on trying to keep up with global international trends? How much had we relied on making sure that we were part of the global communication that is coming from the West? And that for me was a very interesting question, because I'm exactly the opposite. I started off by telling them that I grew up in the West. I left Pakistan when I was 1 year old to a single mom, a single very spoiled mom who had probably never worked before in her life, who then ended up spending most of her life doing 3 to 4 jobs to bring up her son. My first job was at the age of 12. That is the first time that I knew I had to go and earn money to be able to pay my bills. I was financially independent at the age of 14. And at the age of 16, I had to come back to Pakistan with my mom to a country I did not know the language, I did not know the people, I did not know the culture. For a mom who's at work all the time, you barely get to have the opportunity to be able to speak to her, let alone understand that she has another language to speak. But when I came back and landed in this country, my country, I felt home. I felt I belonged. I felt that the air, the people, its soil, it was mine. I, from there on, did everything in my power to do exactly what this man was asking me how I didn't do. I asked him, what makes Pakistan, Pakistan, and what makes our fashion uniquely to us? And I will stick to fashion here because, as you know, that is what I do for a living. I wish I could talk about political spaces, but this is what I do. In a world demanding for us to be like them, how are we doing justice to the culture that we come from? And that is the title of my speech, which I unfortunately hadn't had the time. If you don't know, you will never know where you're going if you don't know where you've been, to really understand who you are. So I tried to explain to them. I said, what made me successful to this day is that in a business that is so consumed with, if you look at fashion, it is a hurricane of sensationalism. Everyone is trying to do something. Someone is wearing some bird on their head and someone is wearing something else or the other, and it's always sensationalist. Fashion is not sensationalist. Fashion is a part of our life. It is what we express. It's our culture. It's the way we put ourselves forward. If we can actually stick to our DNA of who is it that we are, if we can actually make ourselves first understand and accept that who we are is the Islamic Republic of Pakistan, we have these set boundaries of what is it that we wear. We understand our craft. I wish our governments understood our craft, but if we understood our craft and the beauty that we bring from it, not just 70-odd years, but thousands of years that we have occupied this land. And we hold on to that and to transform it into clothing that represents us. There is a big demand in the market right now that Pakistan will not be able to survive the international change if we do not start making better value-added t-shirts and jeans and maybe throw on some skirts and tops to be able to deal with fast-moving consumer goods. I ask you a question. Why is that? Why do we have to pander to the world and keep our finger on the pulse of what's happening in New York, Paris, and Milan, when New York, Paris, and Milan has no interest in having the finger on the pulse of what's happening in Pakistan? And now comes the real crux, the numbers. She's absolutely right. You are a country of over 50% of people under the age of 30. That makes you one of the largest youth bubble countries in the world and one of the strongest to take over. What are your passions? TikTok, Instagram, posts, likes, fake accounts so you can tell your other friend how horrible she is? Where is the focus? When the world is asking for more international, we clamor and start clapping when someone comes out wearing a dress that we feel is very cool. Can't get over the fact that our next door neighbors are wearing these crazy gowns at Cannes. But we see someone in our own garment and we feel confused. We don't know. The element of acceptability becomes confusing. The first step here that I try to explain to them is that if Pakistan accepted Pakistan, we would be unstoppable. And now comes the numbers. I say Islamic Republic of Pakistan because I'm very proudly Pakistani and I'm very proudly Muslim. But I'm also proudly Muslim for also the fact that we occupy in this world a number that is so large that sometimes we don't pay attention to. United States buying market for consumer goods is anywhere between 350 to 400,000. Europe, probably another 300,000. Muslims occupy 2 billion people in the world. A modest market of modest clothes, selling to those who have to wear clothes for themselves, an expression for their loved ones, to be able to understand culture, and the one thing that I feel sets us apart. She used a word that I felt that she felt summed up Pakistan, and I also have a word, I feel that it's ikhlaq and it's an khandan. These two things are very important to us in our culture. Why do we have to constantly keep changing our set of goals to be able to amplify what the world thinks that we need? If just today, you Pakistanis, me Pakistanis, all of us Pakistanis, understood how important Pakistan is to us, not to damage it, not to hurt it, not to necessarily have violent protest against it, political indifference and understanding of ideology has been part of every country's history. But you have to be different. You have to be different because this is the only country that you have. The world is closing, doors are closing in all different parts of the world. Access to these places is becoming more and more limited. But look at what you have. You have one of the country's highest in the amount of computer technology progress besides our next door neighbor, and that is just because we're not focusing there. There is a real danger coming, and that danger is artificial intelligence. And you're about to get into a 2030 emergency where they say the world's 30 to 40% of jobs are going to be extinct. This is the time for us to be able to stand up and understand who we are and who we were. That is my same fight when it comes to my clothes. In my fashion, I will never make any outfit that I don't believe, and I don't think that a lot of people think this is a very woke thing to say, and I don't really care. I will never make anything that I do not feel that if my mother and my sister cannot wear this, how can your mother and sister wear it? Because I come from a certain cultural background of understanding what my limitations are or what my sphere is. But the step here is not just for myself, but all of you to become ambassadors of the country and of the culture that we are. For us to be able to put out the garments, the fashion, the culture, the colors from this part of the world to the rest of the part of the world is the job of the day, is the job of any brand. To be able to make people understand that we're not looking for change. Yes, change in technology is important, adopt it. Change in new processes to be able to make production faster, adopt it. Change in understanding that there are other forms of intelligences that will come in the way of technology, harness it. Don't be scared of it. But what really runs it is you. And who you really are Pakistanis. So, the conversation ended with them not necessarily wanting to get the answers that I wanted. They wanted me to know how is it that I've changed the rest of the concept and communication of my brand. The communication of my brand has always been three things that are important to me. One, family. Being brought up by a single mom, I have a great understanding and value for family. But I don't think I'm the only one. What sets us apart and gives us the kind of strength that we have is that we all have that same kind of situation. That's our strength. Two, our cultural diversity. Just in this room alone, I'm sure there are kids here from Defense, from Iqbal Town, from Model Town, from Ravi Road, from Kant. जो कैंट में रहता है ना उसी तरह कहता है I live in Kant यार I don't live in Kant we are all so different and so vibrantly different from each other that our country has more color than any other country that I've ever been to. The key is not just to understand and celebrate those colors, but the key is to be able to put that into your business, into your future, and into your plans to take Pakistan forward. Sorry, I don't mean to relay the same subject over and over again. My subject matter here was to talk about and continue to talk about DNA, but I keep seeing the faces in front of me and I keep thinking, I've not been in this college before. This college has turned out some major leaders in the world. This college has also had some serious pardebazes in the world too. But whatever it's done, it's not let out anyone without a weak backbone. You are the future. And what the future clamors for more than anything right now is a national identity, a national strength, and an ability to understand that before anything, regardless if it's Amazon, regardless if it's the leaders Microsoft, regardless if it is an advantage on stepping into the world stage, you must not and cannot forget that what really sets you apart from the rest of the world is your identity, Pakistan. Thank you.